Before we move into the next practical exercise, I want to go over this movement map piece that I said was missing last time and just what it is. Again, we're talking about from the slotted position, we're all wound up, externally rotated in our shoulder, arm coiled back, hand coiled back, racket lagging back. So we have some sort of non-hitting hand out here usually, but we're not worried about that right now. The first movement from this is not what you've been hearing from almost all other instructors, which is from the slot that you need to turn the butt of your racket towards the incoming ball. So I want to pause for a moment to explain why this is wrong. So most instructors who tell you that the first move out of the slot is to turn the butt of the racket towards the incoming ball usually show you a photograph or a video clip that looks something like this. So from this slotted position, then your Djokovic or your Federer or Nadal, and you look at the butt of my racket pointing pretty close to that ball, right? So that's what's wrong with that. Well, the problem is that the ball's not really there yet. The ball is where I'm going to show you. So when we've reached the slot and we're getting ready to go forward swing, the ball is incoming from our opponent. The ball is 20, 30 feet away, maybe somewhere in that range that I'm showing you now. As we progress in our swing, the ball is approaching us and eventually gets to that position. Then yes, at some point in our swinging process, it has to be that the handle turns and pivots, and at some point it's going to be pointing at the ball. But it's absolutely the wrong thing to do at the beginning of the forward swing. So what happens if we do that? So if I'm pointing at the ball right now, my handle comes around like this. So now I've opened up the racket and thrown it, casted it, as they call it, out on the swing circle too soon. Now my hand and the racket are aligned, which means that I can only swing through maximum 20 miles an hour. Furthermore, it's going to disconnect this racket from my rotating body. So now my body will tend to freeze up and the hand will be coming through around like this. And so this is a cardinal mistake in swinging, is that we want to keep at the beginning of the swing, we want to keep the racket aligned behind our pulling hand, lagged in back of it. And only at the turn of the swing is this going to be tendency to come around, and it doesn't stop at any point and point towards the ball. It just is rotating around as their racket head is rotating around. So yes, at some point in this swinging circle, it does point at the ball, but that's exactly the wrong thing to do. We're trying to hit to the target. We're not trying to hit at the ball. That creates all this kind of motion. So what should we be doing in our first movement out of the slotted position? We should be doing 2 or 3 different things. So the momentum of our rotation is taking the racket sort of out here to the right initially, and that's fine. That's what we should be doing. But furthermore, we want to both move this into the swing circle at the beginning, and we're going to do 2 different things. We're going to rotate or supinate our forearm back this way. So just to clarify, there's 2 things with rotation of the forearm. There's pronation, where my thumb is carrying over the racket like this and closing the racket face, and there's supination, where my forearm is rolling back like you see here and the racket is laying back. So as we come out of the slot, our natural tendency, if we're untutored, is to want to start pronating too soon. That's going to give us the over-the-top flaw that I've been talking about with Coco Golf, and it's detrimental at a high level, it's detrimental at a low level. I've been talking about it for more than a month here about Coco, and last week at the French Open she lost to the #1 player Iga Swiatek 6-2, 6-4, and she made 39 unforced errors in those 2 short sets. And most of those were topspin forehand errors, and almost all of them had this contributing flaw that I've been talking about, this over-the-top aggressive move from the slot, internally rotating the shoulder too aggressively too soon, pronating aggressively too soon, leading to all these mistimed hits, as well as flattening out the swing stroke. So as you supinate, as I've been telling you, the racket lays back and down from the hand. You can see that it extends down. So I started here, but then as I supinate and lay the racket back, now the racket head is several inches below my hand. And so as I turn into the swing, this is going to be the basis for the vertical rise through contact. If we are pronating too quickly, this is going to be the opposite. It's going to bring the racket up and flatten the swing path, and we're going to tend to have an outside-in swing path instead of a inside-out swing.